Established in 1935 under FDR, Social Security was a part of the New Deal program that provided for the elderly struggling to get by during the Great Depression. The program was key in helping the U.S. get back on its feet and was a great success. However, since its creation nearly 83 years ago, the system has hardly changed. As such, the program is outdated and ineffective, running at a deficit for quite a while now, while taking up almost a third of the US's $3.8 trillion budget. In this video, I'll explain to you how, by making a few notable adjustments to the current United States Social Security system, the US could save billions of dollars every year. Before jumping into the video, it's important to understand how Social Security works. The aim of Social Security is to provide for elderly Americans that are no longer physically able to work. The system provides a stipend for these retired workers that are no longer able to earn a steady stream of income. But where does this money come from? The money comes from the working class of adults. Let's take Bob for example. Bob is a hardworking adult with a well-paying job. Every year, the federal government takes 6.2% of his salary for Social Security. This money funds the Social Security checks for retired workers who once paid these exact same taxes. Essentially, Bob, the young working class adult, pays for the old retirees, and then, in a few years, when Bob is too old to work, the new young working class pays for his Social Security. It's a cycle. But not everyone receives the same amount from Social Security. Monthly benefits are determined by how much the retiree used to earn. So, if Bob made a lot of money as a working class adult, therefore being taxed more than others, he will receive a sizable pension as an elderly citizen. Seems fair, right? The problem is, the system doesn't work. Since 2010, the Social Security program has been operating at a deficit in the billions, depending on annual surpluses from prior years to stay afloat. However, Congress reports that this surplus will only last until the year 2034, and from that point onwards, the US will be unable to pay out the promised benefits to retirees. To put it simply, if the US wants to fulfill their promises of paying benefits to retirees in the future, they need more money. The best way to do this is by eliminating the earnings cap of $128,000. In the current system, even if someone has an income of $1 million, the 6.2% Social Security tax can only be applied to $128,000 of that income, while the rest of the money remains tax-free. Essentially, this means that the wealthier you get, the lower proportion of your income you have to give to Social Security. Eliminating this earnings cap, henceforth taxing the wealthy more, would mean an extra $100 billion of revenue every year for Social Security. However, just as there is an earnings cap, there is a cap on benefits as well. By getting rid of the cap on taxable income, some wealthy individuals would be subject to incredibly large benefits each month, and the system, while doing better than it is now, would still be operating at a deficit. The best solution to this problem is eliminating the earnings cap while keeping the benefits cap. Although the wealthy would certainly not be in favor of this plan, rich Americans would still be able to provide for themselves in retirement. In a study done in 2012, it was found that the top 1% save nearly 40% of their income. The top 10% save a little more than 10%, and the bottom 90%, or the large majority of Americans, save only a little more than 2% of their incomes. While the majority of Americans have not saved enough to be stable in retirement, the top earners are more than able to provide for themselves, with or without monthly Social Security checks. Getting rid of the earnings cap would work momentarily, but the US needs a long-term solution to this flawed program. The US needs to decrease the cost of Social Security. Since its creation in 1935, the age at which Americans could start to receive Social Security checks has not changed. In 1935, when the average lifespan was just 61 years, the government's cost for Social Security was low because they hoped most Americans would just die off before ever receiving their checks. Fast forward 83 years, and the average lifespan of an American is 78 years, yet the age at which they receive checks is still 65. The US is having to pay more and more for Social Security as medicine gets better, and because of this, the government can't fund the system. Furthermore, as medicine has gotten better and better, it's not unbelievable to see a 65-year-old still working. If the US increases the age at which elderly citizens are able to start receiving checks, they could save billions of dollars while still providing for those citizens who truly need the money. No one is going to be in favor of these changes, but whether they like it or not, changes have to be made to keep the program afloat. If the government takes note, they can save this once great program, but they need to get started sooner rather than later.